must be that time. Is it correct? Is it 11 o'clock already? Okay, my 10:59. Oh, wow, then we're going to have to wait a minute. My watch is off by 6 minutes. No wonder I always thought I was way ahead of schedule today. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to First Unitarian Church in New Bedford. I am Reverend Karen LeBlanc. I minister to this congregation as we minister to each other. We are a beloved community of people who believe that everyone is worthy of respect, that science is real, that the democratic process is a sacred thing, that we are all part of an interconnected web, and that the light and energy that you put out and that we share makes a difference in this world. We are people of purpose here. So if what you hear today resonates with you, we hope you will consider becoming part of this way cool community of seekers and keepers of this very long dream that is our church. We have a speaker today, Mr. John Bullard. We are so happy to have him here this morning. He is a longtime member of our church, a longtime mover and shaker in this community. He's the first person I remember being mayor. Really, I was just a wee bit of a thing. If you're new today, you can sign one of these cards. That will put you on our email newsletter list. And let me let you in a little secret, guys. Jess can tell exactly how many people open the newsletter. And she said to me this past week, Karen, do I still need to do this newsletter? Because I get maybe 3 or 4 people that open it a week, and it seems like I'm spending an awful lot of time for nothing. So I am asking you as your minister, please click on your newsletter to be kept up with all the fun things that are going on at this church and all the news that's happening. Please join us for coffee hour after the service. Not only will we be having coffee hour, we will be having an authors symposium here at our church. John will be selling his new book, Hometown, of course, but we also have Alan Powers, we've got Judy Lund, we've got books from Everett Hoagland, who just won the 2023 American Book Award for Poetry for his new book, The Ways. Awesome, that is an incredible achievement. And Maggie Purse. Maggie Purse will actually be here in the flesh today with a bunch of her books, one that you can buy and about 15 more that you can't. We are live streaming this morning, so be aware of that. And if you will put your phones in worship mode, we will begin by lighting our chalice. Who would like to light our chalice this morning? Who do we got? Samara, would you like to light the chalice? Yeah, no, maybe? She'll come up and show you how. Awesome. Samara is the daughter of Elise Raposa, the granddaughter of Joe Raposa, 3rd generation here at UU. We will light our chalice today with the magical words that are our city's motto, Lucem Diffundo, we spread light. It does kind of sound like it comes right out of Harry Potter, doesn't it? Lucem Diffundo. So may the light of the past, the present, and the future shine with us here today in our sanctuary. Our opening words this morning, so in going back and forth with John on this, I got some suggestions of his, of things that he would like to hear. And one of them was a hymn. It took me hours to find one version of this hymn from an Easter service from an Episcopal church. I don't think it's the same version that you asked, but it is very close. So I'm just going to read the words to this hymn for our opening words. What makes a city great and strong? Not streets or airports, parks or schools, not wealth that builds or power that rules, but those who see the civic wrong and give their lives to make it right and turn its darkness into light. What makes a city all can love? Not things that charm the outward sense, not gross display of opulence, but right the wrong cannot remove, and truth that faces civic shame to banish it in honor's name. This is a city that shall stand, a light upon a nation's hill, a voice that evil cannot still, a source of blessing to the land. This city stands for all to see with justice, love, and equity. I love that. I think it is so perfect and so pertinent for now. So now, if you will, rise as you are willing and able and join me in our first hymn, number 114, Forward Through the Ages, 114. Please take the time to greet one another. Maggie, so good to see you there. Oh, hooray, we have so many visitors today. This is lovely. We will now read our covenant, which is printed in your order of service. You can stand if you like, but if you just sat down and you don't really want to get up again, I'm not going to force you. We come together as a religious community, upholding freedom of conscience, right relationship, and the inherent worth of all people. We value our diversity and pledge to care for one another in the spirit of compassion, to speak and listen to each other with respect, and to promote justice and kindness in the world. And now we will have our story for all ages. Marissa Faye Martin.
Good morning, everybody. Today, the children and I will be talking about welcoming forgiveness into our lives. So the story that I have to read today is The Forgiveness Garden. There was a valley, and through the valley ran a stream. The village of Vayam stood on one side, and the village of Gamite stood on the other. There was no peace in the valley, for the two villages had hated one another for a long, long time. One day, a new argument sparked. Both villages claimed a certain part of the stream as their own. Angry words flew across the stream, then stones. A Gamite boy named Karun picked up a large stone and hurled it across the water. A Vayam girl named Sama stood where the stone fell. The stone hit Sama hard on the head, and she fell hard to the ground. The villagers of Vayam ran to help. The villagers of Gamite cheered and ran away. The Vayams called out for revenge. They were angry and they were afraid. Would the Gamites ever stop fighting us? They gathered around Sama, admiring her courage and plotting their revenge against the Gamites. As days passed, Sama's pain began to lessen, but her hatred grew. And in the village of Gamite, too, the people were angry, and they were afraid. Would the Vayams fight us always? They gathered around Karun, praising his courage and scheming how to defend against the Vayams. Karun secretly wondered how brave he had truly been, but his hatred for the Vayams only grew. One day, Sama walked along the stream, yearning for something to ease her aching, angry heart. She reached a cool pool and bent to drink. What she saw reflected there stopped her. She saw the ugly scar, but most of all, she saw her own dark, brooding scowl. "Who have I become?" she cried. Sama wept for a long time. Then Sama looked across the stream. There, a few children from Gamite walked together. How scared and angry and sad they looked. Sama's heart softened. They are just like us, she thought. Suddenly, a few of Sama's own people ran up. "Here you are," they shouted. "The time for revenge has come." And they pulled her away to join the fight. Villagers from Vayam and Gamite crowded the stream. The Vayams held a captive. It was Karun. And they all held stones. A large stone was put into Sama's hands. It was the stone that Karun had thrown. "Throw the stone at him," the people hissed. "Throw it hard." Samba looked at all the villagers, those from Viam and those from Gamite. Their faces were like hers. Her faces, like hers, had been hardened with anger and fear and hate. Suddenly, Samba knew what she had to do. "No," she said in a loud, clear voice. "I won't hurt him. Let the boy go." Her people grumbled. Samia went on. "It's time to stop fighting," she said. "We must stop hurting and hating." And she flung the large stone to the ground. "Let us build a garden instead," she said. Now all of the people grumbled. Someone shouted, "What kind of garden?" Sama knew. A forgiveness garden. Some people gasped, some scoffed, some just laughed. But from Vaya muttered, "If Sama wants it." They let Karun go. Then they piled their stones near Sama. Some of the Gamites saw this and murmured, "It's worth a try." They added some of their own. Only Karun hung back, scared, angry. Stone by stone, the people of the valley built a garden wall together. But they had questions. If we forgive, must we forget all that has happened? Asked the villagers of Vayam. Sama answered, "We will sit together in the garden and decide." "Must we apologize?" asked the villagers of Gamite. "Will the Vayams apologize?" Sama answered, "The garden will help us find what is right." Still, Karun stayed apart, watching and thinking. Villagers set flowers into the soil and planted a tree. When the garden was complete, its loveliness made everyone smile. "This garden is for all of us," Sama said. "It can help us to put aside hate and learn what forgiveness feels like. Who will join me?" At first, no one moved. No one dared. The two villages had hated each other for a long, long time. It was hard to try a new way. Then Karun, brave Karun, stepped forward. "I will join you," he said to Sama. Sama of Barun, Karun of Gamite stepped into the garden together. They sat under the tree and began to talk. What do you think they said? The end.
What a nice story. Thank you. It is time for the youngsters to go to Way Cool Sunday School, if you would like. Can't call them kids anymore. Brody's taller than me almost. You're a youngster. Now is the time in our service where we ask if you would like to share with us your joys or your concerns. If you have something you'd like to share, please come on up. I will light the candle for you, and you can address us here. Don't forget, you are talking to the world on the interwebs.
Sold out the first printing, 3,000 copies in 2 months. And it got a good review in Ireland, a guy named Jeff Ward, in Southern Ireland, down on the peninsula there somewhere. So if you look up Alan Powers and Geof Ward online, you can see his review, which was very complimentary. I thank him so much. But I just wanted to say, Ireland has a connection with my new book. preacher bird in Australia, but the one I do is our wood thrush. Okay. It's a pentatonic scale. If you just do the black keys on the piano, that's the pentatonic scale. And here's the wood thrush. Etc. I wrote a little jazz waltz based upon it called Upthrush. Which is next?
New system. Hi, everyone. Nico Turini here. Tom and I are just really pleased. We met his nephew Kyle's fiancee Megan yesterday, and she is quite lovely, and we get her and she gets us, and yeah, we're very happy. So we have a new family member, and anything else, Tom? Yeah, the wedding is in a couple of weeks. They're going to be married on a hillside in Vermont, so it's very, very free form. They have chickens. They work on a farm. They're happy.
Well, I'm clean for 30 months, almost 3 years, but I know some people and things that happen in the house on the corner. But if you think it's a good idea, I always heard that wisdom is in a multitude of counselors, godly counselors. So I need all the minds helping me that I can get, because wisdom is a multitude of counselors. So I was thinking I wanted to get a grant to make it a sober house and turn it all around for what it was. I'm trying to do it with the Lord's help. And also my brother Michael's in recovery, and for those who are in recovery of our families that we have to pray for. I also got into ministry school on computer online. I just wanted to say thank you for having me and hearing me. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Mary. I wanted to light a candle. This week is the 5th anniversary of my parents passing, and I think about them every day.
It's nice to be here. It was good to get my mom in the car in one piece this morning for her to join us. My 3 kids, Sophia's out on the vineyard, but she's also attending Bridgewater State this semester. James is turning 31 tomorrow. I don't know how that happened at all. And Eliza's doing really well down in Greensboro, so hooray.
Morning, everyone. I don't want to be a grouch, but I just wanted to remind everyone that the world is not going through the best times. It's literally on fire. And I feel like if everybody would take a minute or 2 a day to do some kind of
happy fall equinox to everyone. First of all, entering that chilly part of the year, but we'll be fine. And I light a candle of joy. My kids turn 35 this week. Yeah, that's crazy. So happy birthday, Ian and Dylan. I miss Dylan, but we'll have a great birthday nonetheless. And I light 2 candles, as is our practice here, one for all the joys and the sorrows we keep in our hearts, and one for everyone out there who could use a really great supportive community like this to share with. And that, of course, was Upthrush by Alan Powers. We have, oh my gosh, we just have the most talented congregation. I don't even know what to do about it. There's nothing to do about it. But read another cool thing from a member of our congregation, Everett Hoagland, and another request from John. And since a lot of this today is about our city here of New Bedford, this is a poem called The City from Everett Hoagland. Cross-bloodied native people who named themselves Massachusetts became extinct. Abolition's righteous Yankee Quakers rose, addressed the light in subway tunnels, blubber candles, life-lit lanterns, and smelled the sea in perfumes, sperm whale blood, city coopers' barrels of ambergris. Negro freedmen's gingerbread latticed houses, glassworks, fires, genteel plate cups, spindled women, warehoused bosses, cancer-causing dyeing vats, Mill Street Money, Banks and Lawyers, Wamsutta Club, earth-toned Criollos, earnest migrants, Ernestina, the tail end of whaling. Costly Coast Guard cutters chased rum runners to the smuggler's den. 100 years of heavy fishing, the good years. Belgium, Congo, forced labor camps, rubber tires, tools, and golf balls. Factory owners migrate southward. Fishing flounders, high unemployment, highs from tainted needles, antique prison, under-aided AIDS programs, substandard Red Cross colored cabs to nowhere. The half-lit host of homeless sleep in boarded storefronts, empty houses, the too few full shelters. Addicted ancient adolescents are cornered at Purchase and Hazard Streets, near the children's laughter in pit bull playgrounds. In kaleidoscopic stained glass pane, needy parents kneel on fine stitched prayer stools, plead for gambling, and have casino dreams. But the kings of Kino toast themselves by the hearth in the gold-domed state house and coarsely chuckle at the despair. Down where our gritty city's people are their funneled sand grains in that beacon hilltop, mansions, marble mantles, hand-blown hourglass, turned over and over and over into perpetuity until we are turned. Still, we in this working-class city with too little work smile and greet each other warmly on the gull gray streets, sweep our outside steps, stoops and porches, trim red wine vines inside cyclone fencing, caringly cultivate kale and kids, keeping them in, seawall them from the national storm surge of remorseless militia, gangbanging, and bad blood's sin. Still, sun-yellow dandelions crack our old-time slate sidewalks, upwardly seeking their source in this city of extraordinary, generous, super-friendly, ordinary people who never let a neighbor or stranger starve. This city with a linguiça-flavored lingua franca, where a city hall, library, and church gave birth to an art museum. This up from downtown city is itself a still life museum of watercolored, olive-oiled, earth-toned, one-pot-boiled dinner folk, feasting in mind and manner on faith, hope, charity, civility, old New Bedford's best. This richly storied, whale-tailed, well-oiled, shuttled, tie-dyed city knitted between the clicking tips of harpoons and today's tainted needles. This city woven with the woof and warp of threaded blood ties and knotted genes. This uniquely mixed up northeastern American city asserts itself as a message to the world in each of our many sunshine children's raceless faces. Latino, Cape Verdean, Afro-American, Portuguese, dark, white, light, black, colored? Who can tell? Today, this praying city, where freedom-loving, light-following friends preyed upon whales, where fishing flourished and fishing floundered, this city of all humankind's faces shows there is only one race, the human race, a fact more important than blood-inked scripture, rusty harpoons, carved whale bones, cotton looms, dry dye vats, tools, tires, fish count, shell size, rope works, or game balls. Most magnificently of all, this all too human city manifests that worldly cosmic fact. Everett, you're a master. That's all I can say. You're a master. And now, I believe in your order of service, another request from John here is this lovely, it's actually a hymn as well, but because Randy was sick all week, I didn't want to put any extra effort on his part to learn a hymn that is not in our yellow. I did come and look to see if it was in our yellow hymnal, and I didn't see it. But it's called Precious Lord, Take My Hand. So I'm going to read, and we're going to use this like a responsive reading. So if you have the response is in your order of service, but if you don't have an order of service, the response is just, take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows dear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call. Hold my hand lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When the darkness appears and the night draws near and the day is past and gone, at the river I stand, guide my feet, hold my hand. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Lovely. Our second reading this morning is an excerpt from Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Again and again, I therefore admonish my students, both in Europe and in America, don't aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you are going to miss it. For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue, and it only does so as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself, or as the byproduct of one's surrender to a person other than oneself. Happiness must happen, and the same holds for success, if you have to let it happen by not caring about it. I want you to listen to what your conscience commands you to do and go on to carry it out to the best of your knowledge. Then you will live to see that in the long run, I say, success will follow you precisely because you had forgotten to think of it. And now, join with me. This is a song we don't sing very often here, but it's a lovely little hymn, number 140, and it's actually Hail the Glorious Golden City, number 140. Please rise as you are willing and able. Golden city, pictured by the be seated. What a perfect hymn that was for today. It was. Now is the time in our service where we ask you for your very kind donations toward the many good works of this church. And we thank you for your generosity and your continuing pledges that are coming in. We have gotten so many pledge cards, and we encourage you to keep on sending those in. For that Sibelius today, Randy. That was lovely. It is my great honor and pleasure to introduce John K. Bullard, our hometown boy and congregation member for many years. Give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Karen, for inviting me to share some thoughts about my book, Hometown. I am trying to suppress any thoughts that this is just your way of getting me to come to church. I admit that since Lori and I moved to Westport and church turned into a 25-minute drive instead of a 7-minute walk, my attendance has nosedived. Like the man in the mural behind me, I did find my way back, and it is good to be back. This church is mentioned only 9 times in the book, but it really is foundational to the book for a number of important reasons, which I will do my best to share with you this morning. One is family and how that has influenced me. Every time I come to church, I head straight to that pew over there. I have been sitting or standing in that pew for almost 70 years, and our family for more than that. The history of the church, and I recommend Fred Giffen's excellent book, I don't know if it's one of the books available, is filled with Roaches, Crapos, and Bullards. As I would walk from our home that had been built by William J. Roach to church and listen to the ringing of the bell donated by his widow Clara, I couldn't help but think how many of my family had trod that same path before me. It seemed so familiar. From the same house to the same pew, as I would sit in contemplation for an hour, that continuity would give me a sense of stability in an often chaotic world. As a youngster, when I wasn't in Sunday school with Brownie and others, I would notice my grandfather, John Morgan Bullard, marking the dates in the hymnal, writing in the hymnal. I know you shouldn't do that, but that's what he was doing. So, of the dates that we were singing every hymn, and our hymns were filled with his scratch along the top so that he could tell what date we sang every single hymn. In my subconscious, I was seeing how history is recorded. And speaking of singing, I learned that Bullards do not know how to sing. I witnessed over 50 years or so what should have been prohibited by the Geneva Convention, as generations of the Burr family were subjected at close range to our bombardment of tonelessness without once changing pews. The strength of that family. I learned history from my grandfather and the importance of writing, not just in hymnals. He wrote 4 books, and my grandmother, Catherine Crapo Bullard, wrote another 2. My grandfather impressed upon me that I was the 13th John Bullard and that my ancestors had done great things. Much was expected of me. From the beginning, he put the pressure on. I never liked him. But there were things, like his writing things down, that I respected. And my grandmother's very early commitment to historic preservation with the restoration of the Benjamin Rodman House was an early influence on me as well. I used to conclude coffee hours when I was running for mayor by saying on the back of my grandfather's gravestone in Rural Cemetery, it says he loved New Bedford past and present. I'd be happy if they put on the back of mine, he loved New Bedford too. In addition to family, there's the culture of the church and in my family of engagement with the community and with the entire community. I learned early on from my parents, Dr. John Crapo Bullard and Catherine Kilburn Bullard, that it is not enough to provide for your family the best you know how. You must be engaged in the community. They both were longtime town meeting members, winning far more elections than I ever did. Dad served on the Board of Health. Mom was a co-founder of the Buzzards Bay Coalition. They both served on countless nonprofit boards, including this church, I believe. They showed me, as Viktor Frankl pointed out, that happiness ensues from dedication to a goal greater than oneself. Lori and I are both retired from paying work, but we have always been engaged. Lori is chair of the board of the Immigrants Assistance Center. In a gateway city of New Bedford, the IAC is the major force to help immigrants seeking the American dream to clear the hurdles to citizenship and build new lives, their dreams, and our city. She is also an officer of the Westport Democratic Town Committee, building a strong democracy from the grassroots. I'm president of the New Bedford Ocean Cluster, chair of the board of the Westport Climate Resilience Committee, and serve on the boards of the Buzzards Bay Coalition and the Westport Planning Board. I worked with Ken Hartnett to found the New Bedford Light, which I hope you all read. But that has been true of this church from its beginnings. This church is where Frederick Douglass earned his first wages as a free man, as you all know. This church is where his autobiography is read each year. This church hosted the Bobby Green Jazz concert every 4th of July. This church seems to host almost every gathering on women's rights, civil rights, LGBTQ rights, and so on. You look at the members of this church, and I'm sorry to leave important people out here, but people like Everett Hoagland, Maggie Pierce, Judy Lund, Ken and Helena Hartnett, Richard Pline, Lynn Whitney, Nancy Crosby, Carlton DeSant. The list goes on and on and on of the members of this church, past and present. Too many to mention. And you see a culture of men and women from this church who see the civic wrong and give their lives to make it right and turn the darkness into light. That's this church. Thus, the Unitarian Church in my family shaped the life and the city that I've tried to capture in my first and only book. God, it's hard work, Alan. I don't know how you do it. Took 5 years to write and published by Spinner right down the street. This book is a memoir, and as Ken Hartnett told me, it has two characters, myself and my hometown of New Bedford. It describes how I came to the realization, forged no doubt strongly by family and in part by this church, but discovered on a boat in Vigo, Spain in 1969, that I wanted to make my impact on the world by working to improve my hometown. The book chronicles the more than 50 years I have spent doing that and the people I have joined hands with along the way. And with it, as with every effort, whether it was building housing in the West End or saving the Zeitarian, or managing fishermen so that we will have fish, I have learned more and more about this complex, diverse, beguiling, gritty, struggling city of New Bedford, captured so well in Everett's poem. One of the purposes of the book is that many, many people have been involved in these efforts, and I wanted to make sure, to the best of my imperfect memory, that their stories were told and that their work was not forgotten. I have observed that it is a part of human nature to think that history begins when you show up. Oh, you mean other people have discovered that too? Someone should give that phenomena a name. For example, the historic district hasn't always looked the way it does now. I want people to know what folks like Sarah Delano and Jack Markey and Richard Klein and Sue Underwood and Peter Grinnell. Notice something? Lots of people from this church. So many others did. The other purpose of the book is that, of course, I'm not the only young person, well, I'm not young now, but I was young then, to wonder how to achieve meaning in life. Granted, for many, especially in New Bedford, you do not have that choice. You are just trying to keep your head above water. If you can get a job, any job, that will afford you some of the necessities of life for the immediate future, that will suffice for now, and you will worry about later. But for those who have breathing room to make choices, for those who can ask the question, how can my life have an impact? If the story of my journey helps that young person's journey even a little bit, then the 5 years will have been well worth it. So, it is a little late, but thank you to this church for the combination of thoughtful words, Bach on the organ, the man in the mural, aspiring architecture, and the diverse, welcoming, engaged congregation that has made sure the path I trod was not only familiar, but true. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Engaging as always. Well, I really look forward to reading your book now. Please join me, stand as you are willing and able, and let us sing number 139, Wonders Still the World Shall Witness. 139.
Never known in days of old, never dreamed by ancient sages, howsoever free and bold. Sons and daughters shall inherit wondrous arts to us unknown.
please be seated. Closing words this morning are from another guy who has sit here in this building many, many years ago. His name was Herman Melville. He wrote a little book about a fish. New Bedford is a queer place. Had it not been for us whalemen, that tract of land would this day perhaps have been as howling a condition as the coast of Labrador. As it is, parts of her back country are enough to frighten one. They look so bony. The town itself is perhaps the dearest place to live in all New England. It is a land of oil, true enough, but not like Canaan, a land also of corn and wine. The streets do not run with milk, nor in the springtime do they pave them with fresh eggs. Yet in spite of this, nowhere in all America will you find more patrician-like houses, parks and gardens more opulent than in New Bedford. Whence they came, how planted upon this once scraggy scoria of a country. Go and gaze upon the iron emblematical harpoons round yonder lofty mansions, and your question will be answered. Yes, all these brave houses and flowery gardens came from the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. One and all, they were harpooned and dragged up hither from the bottom of the sea. Yes, that's right. Good point, Alan. You are right. Hold fast, my friends. We love you. Stay strong. Live long and prosper. Go in peace. Join us for our author symposium out there.
Alan, before you go, the postlude wasn't written today, so I just wanted to announce. I should have an announcement. I wanted to announce it because it's another connection to the church. So this final piece is called Japanese Rush. It's a march in the two-step, composed by Everett Lowell, who is the father of Susan Lowell, wife of Alan.
Oh, Susan's dad.
Grandfather or
Oh, go grab Susan, for goodness sake. She doesn't want to miss this. All right, well, we will sit through this lovely, yet another edition of coolness from our congregation and its past, and then join us downstairs for a coffee hour and some perusing of books.